And yes, let's talk about the success and the supposed downfall that Dua Lipa's career is having. Juana Maria, yes, excuse me. Dua Lipa has become one of the most important pop stars of the moment, more iconic. Imagine that I didn't know that Dua Lipa is currently in her flop era. I found out because on Instagram I always ask you my stories, like what video ideas, and several of you wrote to me. Talk about Dua Lipa's fall, and I thought that Dua Lipa had literally fallen, and I was looking for what Dua Lipa's fall on TikTok, thinking she had slipped, not sure. No, according to my little one, she is going through her flop era right now, you know, like that she's doing badly. And many people even say that this could be the end of Dua Lipa's career. I found Juana Maria very interesting. I researched her on the internet and found articles, videos, and TikTok posts about her. What confirms the fall that you guys had told me?
Because this
album had no story. Honestly, I feel like I'm not enjoying this new era as much as the last one. Before we start with this video, hello, good little dogs of goodness. Remember to follow me on my other social networks, especially Instagram, where I'm always asking for your input. Today, I posted a poll asking if viewers preferred a video on Dua Lipa or Chapel Run. Most voted for Dua Lipa. Yes, let's get started. Let's look at this case, her beginnings. Well, our little Duolingo, right? Dua Lipa was born in 1995 in London. From a young age, she showed her interest in music, which is not strange because her dad. He has been the vocalist and guitarist of a band since he was young. The band ended in 1998 because, well, they never had success, right? As long as my little Dua Lipa has me as her father, she will never flop in her career. That's the kind of man I am. The first time I saw a picture of them together, I thought he was her partner, you know? And I said, well, I'm not offended because if he's her sugar, well, her sugar is handsome, right? Like there are sugars and sugars. And it wasn't her dad. By the way, I found this picture of her mom, which I hadn't seen. I'm seeing it now as I'm editing the video. It's no wonder Dua Lipa is so stunning. She's truly blessed. In elementary school, she received music lessons and they never wanted to put her in the school choir. Because apparently her voice couldn't reach the high notes, so she couldn't be in that choir, right? Nowadays, her teacher's seeing that, like what? And yes, I teleported because before continuing with the video, for some time I was talking about Pocket Broker and to this day, they keep asking me the same. Questions about the registration process, how do I register, how do I make a deposit, how do I navigate the platform, etc. Well, in this video, I will be answering all your questions, and not only that, because we will also be making money live. So stay tuned to this video so you can see the process from beginning to end. The top priority is to register using an email, password, and my promotional code CNSOY. Then to make your first deposit, we're going to top up the account. We click here and many payment methods will appear. Then to bet, we go to amount. For me, $20 was fine. And I hit the green trade button because I felt it was the best for this operation, and then all we have to do is wait. Perfect! We won $76.80, and to withdraw our money, we go here, press here, and that's it. You just have to fill this out. And I have a gift for you, since there were many people interested in the project. I spoke with the client and they have granted you a bonus not of 60%, but of 100% on your first deposit. Yes, follow my link and use my promo code for over 100% off. On your first deposit, this limited time offer kickstarts your journey to success with Pocket Broker. Afterwards, she moved to Kosovo, right? Yes, my little one. She went to Kosovo because of her dad's job. There, she continued as if loving music, becoming even more passionate about it, discovering genres. But she knew that staying in Kosovo would limit her musical growth. So, she convinced her parents to let her go to study in London as a child. In the end, they sent her alone with someone they knew, but she says that person never really connected with her, you know? And if my daughter went to London, promising her parents an academic future, but they didn't take care of her, right? An academic future in music? She didn't specify to them it was in music, but yes. So at 14 years old, what she did was upload her songs to SoundCloud, to YouTube. And then at 16 years old, well, she did the same, but this time she uploaded more frequently, covers. And mostly in her boyfriend's room or something like that, because her boyfriend also seemed to want to be a singer at that time. I don't know anything else that she did that I can write here. She had a fake identification at 16 years old, and what she did was go to clubs to meet people who were in the music industry and could help her promote her songs or get her signed to a record label. Well, she dropped out of school, and 2 years later, someone discovered her, right? Her rise to fame. This person worked for Tap Management and they put her there. She wrote songs there, but the big break came in 2017 thanks to her being at Tap Management. They held an audition for her in... Without me remembering anything, they held an audition for her at Warner Music and they really accepted her at Warner Music. When asked about her idol or someone she admired most, she said Madonna. And they had written that they wanted to create the next Madonna. So from that moment, they said, no, you come with us. And Dua was very lucky because Warner Music was looking for their next female pop star, their next female artist who was giving it her all and breaking through everywhere. So they put all their focus on Dua Lipa, giving her the best songs, providing her with a stylist. The marketing they were giving to Dua Lipa was powerful. They were investing a lot of money in her. And not many artists have that luck. I tell you, the majority of artists, their big fight with their record labels is that they don't promote them enough. They know record labels only focus on those already successful, not those who haven't achieved it yet. And well, no, Dua Lipa was killing it. She had several successful singles, including Blow Your Mind and Scared to Be Lonely, Susanna. That song was the success of the success. My little girl was killing it. The moment of the walls came in 2017. When she released her debut album, Dua Lip, I loved its originality. If I release an album, it'll be called I'm Thali. Well, my little girl broke it with her Dua Lip album. There, she jumped to worldwide success, and more than anything because of her song rules was... New Rules. I was close. Juana Maria, don't scold me, but yes, because of her song New Rules. She really broke through the barriers. Juana Maria, she got herself on the top with the big names in music, and she kept breaking it because she kept releasing singles. And in general, her presence was being quite good. The only major criticism she faced was about her dancing, which even became a meme at the time. You know my little one, Dua Lipa? Everyone made a meme of her little dance. Even I did before. At the beginning, when I uploaded videos, I sometimes put that meme. Dua Lipa's fans would write to me asking not to post certain memes because they offended the singer. I never put it again after that incident in 2020, but it doesn't really matter now. Juana Maria. She released her breakthrough album To The Mega. She was already a mega star, but with this album, she launched, well, she jumped 40,000 times more to stardom because she was ready. She continued to release successful songs, but this album, released during the quarantine when everyone had ample time, transformed everything. So usually the popular albums that came out during those times, well, they broke it too much. And this was the case with Future Nostalgia. Unfortunately, it was leaked and my little girl came out crying on a live, and they had to release it earlier than they were going to release it because it was leaked. All the songs from the album. She became extremely upset, believing the album would flop despite the significant time, love, and care they had invested in it. And actually, no, even the fans, I feel like they felt a little bit of pity and they got involved. Like, oh no, dude. Already in the small venture of my little Duolingo, Juana Maria came in and they ended up liking the songs, which became a huge success despite my conspiracy theory. Dua Lipa gave her all with that album. Not only the songs, but also the album's aesthetics made it a hit. The whole personal brand that Dua Lipa had at that time was incredible. Do you know the outfits she wore at those times? Do you like her cat suits? She also often wore shiny outfits. Her hair at that time was very unique, you know? No? And also her dance, because I tell you something that was always criticized, was her dance, like her performance. They said she didn't dance well. It's always like that with female artists. You know, with men, a man does this with his butt. Juana Maria and everyone else. She gave us the best performance of the year. A woman has to jump off a bridge for people to say, wow, great performance. I loved it already. But they acted that way with my young daughter. And in 2020, she gave us dance. She gave us everything. She gave us pirouettes in the air. She killed it. The baddest. But we have to move on to the sad part of the video. Was her flop? Yes, the downfall of Dua Lipa's career, or in fact, the supposed downfall of Dua Lipa's career. This is not the end. Drink up. It's just a minor setback. In her music career, she devoured with her first 2 albums. So with this album, there were too many expectations, right? She hadn't released a new album since 2020, so they were going to release one in 2024. And well, if the expectations were sky high, people expected a lot from her, and not only people, she and her team expected a lot from her. The album is called Radical Optimism, or as Juana Maria would say, the album was a flop. I can't pronounce the name, but you should learn English, although it did have one point. 7 billion streams on Spotify. What can I say? That's a lot. There are many artists who still can't achieve that number of streams just on Spotify, you know? Not in everything, but well, yes. But compared to his last album that had 13 billion streams, I mean, it had 12 billion fewer streams than his past album. And I tell you, his album didn't do bad at all. It's just that, in my opinion, it sounded too much. His album, you know? I listened to it. I like many songs such as Illusion and Susanna, but I didn't like Houdini that much. That's why when they told me, I thought my little girl Dua Lipa had fallen. I didn't realize they were referring to her being in a career slump, as I never believed she was in one. It's funny that people say almost nobody knows that album I listen to, but I actually do. But imagine if the album didn't have that great performance, that it wasn't even nominated for the Grammys. At the Grammys, it didn't even have a nomination. And the day after the nominations for the albums were made public, after the Grammy nominations were made public, Dua Lipa was seen with swollen eyes, and people have the theory that she, spent the whole day, all night, I don't know, crying, you know? Sad because her album received no recognition, and it was an album that she put a lot of love, a lot of heart into. Not having any nominations was very hard for her, especially at her level, you know? Because Dua Lipa wasn't exactly at the bottom, right? She's not a new artist. She's already at the top levels. Like her, she was accustomed to each new album surpassing the previous one, leading to excessive expectations for this release. For me, I never thought this album was a flop. I heard it a lot on the radio and sometimes on TikTok. But is it true that they released this album hoping it would be the album of the summer? This album was popular and loved throughout the summer. And the songs from that album, although they were very listened to and many were quite popular, they were not at all represented as songs like Super Popular of the Year. 2024, you know? At least for the majority view of the public. Or what do I know? So, as I initially had no idea why this album was flopping, because I tell you, I liked it. I searched the internet, Susanna, yes I did. And here I'm gonna tell you the criticisms and assumptions of why my little Dua Lipa is in her flop era. If she doesn't change, it could end her career. First, the album's overall aesthetics or her personal brand. So, for artists today, it's very important to do different things that set them apart from others. I mean, that you see that and you say that it's such artist. And that was something that, according to Dua Lipa's album, this year didn't have. And I'm gonna give you several examples. For instance, in her last album, she did have many things very representative of her album. Well, first of all, her super iconic hair, the outfits she would wear, her whole vibe, disco. You know, everything was very disco, very shiny. That, you know, everything was very much her, that the planets, but, you know, it reminded you a lot of Dua Lipa. You used to say Dua Lipa, baby Dua Lipa, whenever you saw something like that. But this album had nothing that made her appear that way. Or we take the example of Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter last year released a new album. That album broke it. That album, yes, it was the summer album, the album that sounded the most in the summer, you know? She broke all the barriers of the world. And it was because my little girl or her team focused a lot on aesthetics. In Sabrina's personal brand, you know, releasing an album that in the first place looked super summery, the lighting in her music videos in general, the aesthetics of all her music videos, they were super summery. The clothes they put on her at her concerts, at her performances. You know this super representative silhouette of Sabrina with those pastel colors that she also uses too much? That you can't see this clothing on someone else without thinking of Sabrina Carpenter? When you see this silhouette on someone else, you might think they're copying Sabrina because it's very much her style. Imagine that last year, one of the most popular costumes was to dress up as Sabrina Carpenter, and what they did was copy those looks that she wears to the stage, which make her super iconic hair. More than anything, the color that I feel most represented this era of Sabrina is baby blue, you know? Like this pastel blue. Like she broke it, like it's very Sabrina. It's just that, for example, even if we take the example of Olivia Rodrigo, what's her color? Purple. You know, it's a color that you say, Olivia Rodrigo, do you see this? Olivia Rodrigo? Baby from what school? That was more in 2020, which was more her style, like a schoolgirl. But she is like rebellious. To this day, she still wears the purple. She still doesn't let it go, and she does quite well because it's something that distinguishes her from other artists. Or we also have the example of Charli XCX with her Brad Summer, that last year Brad Summer baby. Everywhere there were things from Charli XCX with that fluorescent green. You know her style, super crazy and carefree. With those glasses, sometimes it was like messy makeup or sometimes without makeup, and just with those glasses, Susanna giving it all that color that is super distinctive of her. Do you see the same color here and call it Charlie X or something else? Even Chapel Run has a very her aesthetic that you see this and you say that is Chapel Run. Many people, including myself, criticized Dua Lipa for something I felt was justified. Tell me something about Dua Lipa's album, I'm going to tell you it gives me vibes. I don't know, the color red, a shark over there, because that's what comes out on the album cover. So yes, but do you know? Aren't there things that you would say like, that's Dua Lipa? Or that you see the color red and they ask you for an artist and you say Dua Lipa? Do you know that I feel like she did try to do it with her hair, that she changed her hair color to enter this new era? Her wardrobe changed significantly. As I mentioned earlier, she used to wear certain outfits, but I noticed that she changed her stylist for this new era. I'm saying this 1,000 times, but yes, she changed her stylist. And well, she was making these types of outfits, which I tell you, these outfits are not bad at all, but they are not iconic at all. You know? Is it something I can see on Charlie XCX? It's not something I would say is Dua Lipa, you know? It's not something I see on someone else and say, Dua Lipa, is that you? You know? Don't drink. An outfit that anyone can wear, you know? Like it's not emblematic of her. And in Future Nostalgia, I feel like she did wear things that were very much her personal brand. But in this one, it's like they got tangled up in a lot of things. They wanted to make a summer album, adding things like water, people swimming, na-na-na, her on the cover, like in the water. But at the same time, they wanted to do something like more sexy. You know, like dark colors, the color red. You know, like they didn't focus on one thing. And I feel like that was something that really didn't favor that album much. I did love his songs though. But maybe it's true that he didn't give enough to the aesthetics, like other artists who did focus on an aesthetic for that album. So let's jump to critique number 2, because for people, I'm sorry, it was the same old, same old. You know those songs with a disco vibe? You know, people were saying she brought the same vibe she's had since 2020. She hasn't changed, innovated, or done anything new. It's always the same. It's true that her songs don't sound that different, but for me, I love it, and I feel that happens with many artists. You know how when they find something that works for them, they stick with it? It doesn't bother me either because I liked this album and didn't even notice that. However, I did see that it's a criticism often repeated on the internet. Also, her dance that she did in the music videos. Like for people, it was boring and that it was the same as what she had done. You know, and in general, like she didn't innovate. So for people, it was like the same of the same of the same. The third criticism is that according to her, she didn't give people a break from her in general from her music. You know, like people were saying about Dua Lipa. We've been listening to Dua Lipa nonstop since 2020. You know, ever since she released Future Nostalgia, it's been Dua Lipa, Dua Lipa, Dua Lipa with that disco rhythm, you know, beat after beat after beat afterwards. When they released the Barbie movie, she had one of the most important songs of all the movies. Because it was the song that the main characters danced to at one point. I love that song, Susanna. I'm a fan of Dua Lipa. I really love that song. That song played, devoured, gave it all. What does it matter about her and her team? They released Houdini, the planned main song of her new album, a few days later, right? So for people, it was like too rushed. You know, one thing after another. And the song Houdini did well, but I tell you, it wasn't the success they hoped for, so much so that they changed the aesthetic of the album. The album was originally planned to have a different cover and aesthetic than what we see today. But as they saw that Houdini didn't work out so well, they said like we have to change, you know? Because people, well, they're not liking this so much. And it was so much so that in the end, her Barbie song was more successful than all the songs on her new album. Many people say that it's just that, you know? Like they were tired of always listening to Dua Lipa. Like it was the same thing, but without giving them a break. I always listen to Dua Lipa. I don't need a break from Dua Lipa. I'm super routine for certain things like my breakfast. I always have the same thing and love it. I'm also always routine for Dua Lipa's songs. So yes, for me, my personal opinion is that obviously Dua Lipa's career has not fallen at all. Because even if this album was a flop in quotes, it still had much more success than many other albums that other artists have released, and it did too well. It had 1.7 billion streams on Spotify. I mean, that's magnificent. The only thing, obviously, compared to the others, well, no, but it still did super well. And I'm sure this is going to be a lesson for her, and I don't know, is she going to dare to launch new things? She rehired the stylist she previously fired during the future nostalgia era. But well, she returned with him, and I think it's amazing she's going back to what works for her, and that's good. It's like when they criticized her dances and she improved them. The same will be with this album. Besides, not all albums have to be a super hit. It's normal for some albums to not give as much, especially when an artist has released albums that set a high bar, but she'll keep giving it her all. Here we are, Wallovers, babe, I love you. And with this, we finish this video. I hope you liked it a lot, and don't go commenting here. No, obviously it's not the end of the race. Obviously not, babe, but obviously in the title has to be catchy, babe. Also, as people were saying it on the internet, well, you guys already know, right? But well, if you like this video, don't forget to comment on it, please. And if you made it to this point in the video, comment a little purple heart so I know you made it this far. And to say she's a real bitch? Yeah, you are a real bitch. You are the boss of the boss. Comment to me. What do you think about all this? Also, what other videos would you like to see, if you want? I can also make a video of Chapel Run, which is being cancelled in the United States. Susanna, if you'd like a video dedicated to her, I can do that too. If you like this type of videos, write it in the comments for me to also do it, because I don't know. So yes, kiss on the Anastasio. I love you very much. Take care of yourselves. Love you.